knowledge. The labor class, yes, agree, they won't be aware of this. So it is the duty of the employee or employer who is employing them. He is aware that because of the kind of work that is going to be carried out in my institution, there could be some hazards happening to the people who are working over there. So it is his duty to take precautions, to have safety measures, and even after these, if there is some kind of accident taking place, there should be some rules and regulations that have to be maintained by the employer. So what could happen at a workplace? So if these are some pictures depicting what could happen if it is an industry basically. So you could nearly miss some kind of instrument or equipment falling over you, right? So first one says you could nearly miss, meaning you are not hit, but you just missed it. There could be a minor injury. So it would have just hit you, or small kind of injury wherein okay, you're fine with it, you will recover very soon. It could be a major injury, fatal injury. Yesterday, when we were speaking of the first, where that boy, right? So when he lost his arm and his leg, that is a major injury. He is going to be like that for the rest of his life. That is a major injury, and it could also lead to death of a person. So these are the things that could happen at a workplace, especially industries. This picture is depicting about. So what kinds of accidents are there? So this is a this data is from 2001 to 2006. Okay, HSE means health, safety and environment. HSE stands for health, safety and environment. This is a different sector. You won't. I don't know whether you are aware or no. Have you heard of MTech in environmental engineering?
No, ma'am.
Have you heard of environment engineers?
No.
No, okay, fine. So, how the way you have your UG courses, engineering courses like civil, mechanical, electronics, communication, etc. There is a field, Bachelor of Environmental Engineering also is available, but very few colleges in India. Apart from that, there is master degree course, that is MTech in Environmental Engineering. Okay, MTech in that particular environmental engineering can be done only by the students who have done BE Civil and BE Chemical. Only these two people are eligible for doing masters in environmental engineering. Okay, basic reason because civil engineering will be dealing. They have a core subject of environmental engineering 1 and 2, the wastewater, solid waste, etc. They will be learning about that. And chemical engineers are taken into picture because chemical people know if I mix chemical A with chemical B, what is going to be the output, whether it is good, bad, or how to treat, right? So when an environmental engineer is present, every industry, whether it is a chemical industry or any kind of industry, which is going to work on some production of a material. So when I'm saying a production of a material, there would be raw materials. I will have some raw materials. I'm taking the raw materials. We are going to do some kind of stuff with the raw material, and then I will be getting the product. So there is a input and there is going to be some output. Also there is going to be some kind of wastage coming. Any kind of material you take, whether you're considering soap, you're considering the daily what you use, toothpaste, you say you use cosmetics, anything. So to make that particular thing, there is going to be some raw material, and these are your products that are coming out in the market. But apart from this, there is going to be some kind of waste. That waste has to be treated. They are obviously going to dump it into the nature. So that waste has to be treated. Now that waste, when it is treated and they give a permission for it that, okay, now it is not going to be harmful for me to, openly throw it out into the environment or dispose it into the environment. The environmental engineer will check and put his signatures on it. Only then will it be disposed of. Till then, it cannot be disposed. The waste has to be treated first in such a way that they have to prove that when they are going to dispose it out, it is not going to have any kind of effect on the environment. Okay, so that is where the environment engineer comes into picture, and every sector, every industry, especially when they're treating or they're coming making use of raw materials for some products, they will and they should have an environmental engineer post available in their industry or the organization where his job is this. that he will check before disposing of the waste materials. Okay, so I drifted from the topic. Coming back to kinds of accidents. So here, this is health, safety, and engineer. There is where the health, safety, and environment. So they discuss about the health, safety of the people, and the environment, right? So now you can see here the percentage and how the accidents are there, hit by a moving, flying objects. So when I'm working in an industry or a company, say very simple ones for you to understand is Udyam Bagh area, all industrial area, no Udyambag. If you are a Belgamite, local Belgaum people, you will know Udyambag area is called as the industrial area. So many workers at morning 8 o'clock also you will see, at 10 o'clock also you will see, at 5 also you can hear the siren. That is, so many people are working. So there they could be hit by a moving flying object. There could be accident because of that. Handling accident. They don't know how to handle a particular equipment. There is where last class we were talking of, they should be trained to use that equipment. Not everyone will be able to use that equipment. Then slips, trips, and falls. If they are working at some height, say painting is an occupation, right? A painter. So when he is painting a very high rise building, so you have seen, not in our country also, in metros, but usually you will get to see this in foreign countries where there is a skyscraper means it is some 60 plus storied building. So when they have to paint it, he's got that arrangement, and he's, outside on the like a pendulum, he's hanging and he's painting, or he's cleaning the glasses. There could be slips, trips, and falls at that level, because he's at a very great height. So he has to take care of the ropes or the beds, safety measures that has to be taken care of. Then falls from height included, assault and others, like not including the sports and all. There could be other kinds of accidents also taking place. So these are the kinds of accidents, and if you see the percentage, handling accidents and trips and falls will give a majority, that is 35 to 40% they are lying within, right? So that is a big number. When we say, when it crosses 10-20% only is a big number. 10-20% means out of 120 people are getting affected. So when I say 35 to 40%, that means out of 100, 35 to 40 people are going to come or meet, uh, they would come across this accident that will happen. So that is a high number. When such accident happens, some people will report, some people will not report. So it is important for the industries and the people to report accidents. Yeah, name and fame and all, keep it at a side, but from this we will be getting a actual, we will be able to plan properly. Safety measures could be developed. But if they do not report the accidents, then there would be assumption that okay, everything is safe, everything is fine, there are going to be no kinds of fatalities or accidents taking place, so it is good, right? So that is why it is important. So why report accidents? Accidents should be reported because the law requires some specific types of accidents to be reported to the enforcing authorities. So that is why usually at construction sites, for a construction site, some rules and regulations are different. We were talking the other day, like compensation is given, or if it is a small minor injury, then some kind of help will be provided. If it is a major injury, he happens to lose his hands or legs, then for lifetime, how is he going to survive? Or if he's got dependents, then government has got some rules and regulations where they will give him a lump sum amount, or they will try to give him, if he is educated, they will try to put him to a different sector, or basically labor class mein, because education is missing, they will give a lump sum so that he and his family will be benefited. So for the government to bring such laws into picture, it is important that they know such things happen at the site, right? So it requires some specific type of accidents to be reported. Then the university safety policy requires all accidents and near misses to be reported to the USO. It enables investigation so as to prevent further accidents. Yes, if we are going to report about the accidents that are taking place, then what will happen? The authority is going to investigate properly, and if they get to know that yes, now say for example at a particular industry, because of the height slipping problem, the people over there who are working, they slip from the height, and because of that accidents are taking place. So then they will investigate the matter and say, okay, this is the problem, height, or at this particular junction the person is slipping or the accidents are happening. So So what can be done at that place? They could come up with some rails, handrails, or they could come up with some mesh at the bottom, so that if they fall, they will be landing into the mesh, right? So they will come up with some preventive measures for accidents not to take place. Best example in your day-to-day life, if you want to know about this, simple is your traffic rules. The moment you all are aware, no, some junctions are called as red spots. That junction by default accidents are taking place. Can you name some junctions like that in Belgium city where you feel accidents are going to be maximum, or you have heard maximum accidents are more? I want it to be an interactive class.
Near Ghat areas.
Near Ghat area, yes. Ghat sections, Western Ghats, whenever they're traveling, Ghat section because of the road narrowity. So anybody else? City may you know any place? Or generally, where do you find these accidents coming? Where there is a intersection.
Market, ma'am.
Market, then intersection roads. The Kolhapur circle, we say, you know, that side. Near JNMC side. So many roads are coming and meeting. What is the to avoid that accidents? What came up? The traffic signal came up. You take a junction, intersection point where four roads are coming like that. So if I don't have a traffic signal, can you imagine what is going to be the state? I know we are very angry when there is a signal on and we have to wait for some 60 seconds. Other day, all day we are wasting so much of time, but those 60 seconds we are in a very hurry. We want to rush to our houses, or we want to rush and we don't want to wait there, and we are grumbling when the red light is on, right? But imagine if the red light is not on. You must be knowing last few months now, recently again they are following that traffic lights, but in between, in mid, there was no traffic signal anywhere. So especially at RPD, you have seen what type of a chaos was carried out over there. So much of traffic congestion, there could be accidents because some people are driving at high speeds. So looking into the problem, they addressed the problem by putting the traffic light, right? So similarly, when we are working in an organization, when we report incidents or accidents, they will come and investigate the matter, and then they will be enforcing some rules, regulations, safety, prevention, laws, etc. Okay. Next, some of the duties of the employer. Who is the employer? What is the employer and what is the employee? Anybody?
Employee who works for the organization.
Yes, an employer, and the employer is the one who is going to have these employees under him, right? So, what are some of the general duties of the employer, which could be applied to the staff, student, visitor, and contractor? So, a simple way, let us consider at our own level. So, we all are aware of college now, right? So, this becomes an organization. So, in college, staff is present, you students are present, people are coming and going, contractors, yes, no, it's okay, but at least these three we are getting over here. So organization, employer is the management, and we are all becoming the employee. Say this is, for example, I'm taking, okay. So the duty of the employer is provide safe workplace, right? The college area that is there, it has to be safer. So employer, whoever is there now, this was a college example I took. If we are talking of an industry, chemical industry, the place where my workers are there, it should be safe for them to work. Okay. Next, provide safe plant and equipment. So if we are talking of industries, chemical industries or industrial area, take Udyambag area, where they will be working with lathe machines, they will be working with bigger equipments, or you take a construction site, you all have seen cranes these days, construction site, all of you are passing from the third gate junction where flyover construction is taking. Everybody would have passed through. Now currently that is, say that is a scenario, and those people who are working over there are your employers. Employee, and employer is the contractor who has given this job role, right? So that place should be safe and provide safe plant and equipment. So they will be using equipment. So you all have seen, I think someone is trying to join the meeting. Please, all of you, see that you enter the meeting on time, because I'll have to keep flipping like this. Okay, so where was I? employer. So there are equipments, there are cranes. So firstly, I should, if my workers know how to use the equipment, well and good. If they do not know, we should ensure that they know to make use of it, because if they do not know and they go and sit on a JCB and then they go and do an accident, you never know, right? So they should be trained for that, and it should be safe for them, for their health, or if they don't know, they should be trained. Then provide safe system of work, meaning say safe systems of work means when they're working, there is a system created, right? So the work has to be divided properly, and it should be safe enough for them to work in that particular junction. So these are the three main, everything comes under one statement only, that is basically you should provide a safe environment for all the employees, whether it is equipments, whether it is place, whether it is human relationship, etc. Then that was an employer who is going to recruit the people. Then what about the duties of the employee being working under a company or in an industry? What are my duties, like that? So general duties on employees are, for whether it is staff, students, visitors, to take reasonable care. So as an employee also, I should be aware of my importance of my life, because I will have a family behind. So I should have that responsibility, sense of responsibility, and take care. I cannot be, absent-minded, basically. So there are people who are irresponsible at every level. You would have noticed at your own levels, in your friends, you might have noticed, in your school days, you must have noticed. There would be people who are irresponsible. You will make out from their face only. They will leave things anywhere and go. They're not aware of what they are doing at times. They simply forget things. Those are all coming. The people who even forget things come under irresponsible only. Okay. Then to cooperate with the employer. Now, once I'm working for some company, it is my duty to adhere to all the rules that are going to be put up by my organization. So I should cooperate with my employer, not only with the employer, with the entire system. We are 10 of us working on a project, then we all 10 should have proper cooperation, right? One not cooperating can lead to many things. When we even general safety, when we are talking of also, so it is a duty of the employee to cooperate with the employer and not to interfere with safety arrangements. Yes, you are told to do what you should do, only that. You should not interfere into the safety arrangements. So you have a problem, you feel that is not safe, or you need safety at that junction, you have all the rights to go and inform your higher authority. Even when you are informing your higher authority, there is always a hierarchy. Hierarchy is a triangle. So when we talk of a triangle, the top is the one who is at the top level, manager, or the topmost level. So in simple languages, if I want to give you example, so if I'm talking of the hierarchy of our college system, say, so triangle it follows. So at the top will be the principal, sir. Okay, then comes the deans, then comes the HODs, then come all the faculty members, and then the students. So if you imagine a triangle, then at the base of the triangle is going to be the students. Number is more. Students number is more. That's why the base of the triangle. As and when it goes becoming sharp at the apex at the top, then you will have the staff, then you will have the deans, then you will have the HODs, and then the principal. Principal is one. That is why the apex of the triangle. So it is your duty to inform the higher authority of you first. Meaning, for a student, he will have to go and inform. If you have a problem, you will first tell the faculty members. You will not jump directly to the principal. Then he will take it further like that. Okay. So if you have anything to say about the safety measures, or I'm talking if you have to say at your workplace, okay, not in the college. Even in the college, if you're getting some issue, but we are dealing with the employees, right? You cannot directly interfere with the arrangements. You have to report it to your higher levels. Then reasonably practicable. Now, what things when we are talking of over here is about the accidents that are taking place, or about the environment that has to be safe, environment that has to be created at our workplace, and hazards, right? So here, two important things that come into picture is risk and cost effort. See, look at the picture over here, the small picture. It has got that balance, and at one side is the risk and the other side is the cost or the effort. But these two have to be balanced. Can anyone explain why this picture or why risk and cost both have to be balanced? What you feel? You know, one simple picture given to you, you should be able to tell or comprehend. Comprehend meaning you should be able to explain the picture in your own words. Now, if I give you a small assignment, like I want at least 4 or 5 of you to explain this picture for me, I bet you all 4 or 5 would have a different kind of explanation, and all 4 or 5 would be right at their own path. So I want you to take 1 minute of time. All of you observe this picture. There is a balance shown, and at one side of the balance is the risk, the other side of the balance is cost or effort. Can anyone explain what is the importance of this? Take a minute's time and you can read whatever is written. I do not mind. So they say risk should be set against the effort required to remove it. It is not reasonable, practicable if the cost of the removal of risk is disproportionately high. I know you won't be able to understand it. That's why I said even if you read, I don't mind. But can you just tell me in one line what it indicates? Anybody?
As how much the risk involved in this job is proportional to the cost or the effort involved in it.
Very nice. He says the risk, whatever risk is involved in the job, is directly proportional to the cost or effort of what basically
Involved in that job. Involved in that job.
involved in the job. Yes, cost or effort involved in the job. Yes. Who is this? Can I get your name because I am in the window? I won't be able to see your name. What's your name?
Nandish.
Nandish. Yes, good Nandish. Anybody else? Nobody. The small things you start doing. You start. I can't see you anyways. So क्या आपका फर्क पड़ता है? What you going to tell me now? At least now you will get out of your comfort zones and that stage fear or fear of talking in front of people. This is the chance when somebody tells you talk, you should talk. Quick, I want another 2 3 answers at least. I'll not leave you till then. What do you feel this picture is telling you? Comprehend. If you want to tell me in Kannada and Hindi also, I can find. Kannada, Hindi, Marathi also is fine. I'm well versed with all the 4 languages. Reasonably practicable, risk and cost effort. Nobody? Give a try at least somebody else. No? Very bad. If we were in the class, I would have given you an activity by now. Looking at this state. Okay. I'll only explain. Reasonably practicable. First point. Reasonable means what? What do you understand by the English term reasonable? Meaning, say I have a product which is of 200 rupees and I'll tell it is for 500 rupees. What you will say? Hey, what this lady is talking, right? She's not reasonable. You know, because I am unnecessarily increasing the cost of the product, right? So in simple terms, I'm trying to tell you what is the meaning. That is not reasonable. But if I tell you, if it is a product of 200 and I tell you I will give you in somewhere 180 to 220, fine. You will say fine, okay. Or 150 to 200, yeah, reasonable enough. Fine, we can go ahead. So when I'm trying to put this definition, reasonably practicable, things that we talk of should be practically able to be done also there. I simply can't talk words which will not be able to be carried out. We have to have that sense that practically whether it is possible or no. Right? I want to become the Prime Minister of India. The statement, practically, is it possible or no? I should know first before making such statements. So that is the meaning of practicable. So reasonably practicable means we are trying to talk of the risk, trying to talk of the amount of risk that is present in a job role, And when there is risk, I know, like for example, say we are going to put up a nuclear power plant in Belgaum city. Obviously, when there is a nuclear power plant, construction ho gaya, no problem in the construction. After that, we will have to recruit people who are going to work there in the power plant. Now, when they will say that we require 100 laborers who are going to work at the nuclear power plant, who are on a daily basis going to get exposed to those nuclear rays. Now comes into what? Risk. Agree? So now there is a risk factor coming. So now how do I remove this risk factor? Okay, I cannot remove the risk factor because it is going to be there. The rays are going to be available. But what I can do, I can prevent some things. I can have safety measures so that our employee will not have any kind of problem. Also, I will have some set of rules and regulations laid, right? So when I'm talking of risk involvement and the people are aware of the risk, and still if I want them to join, then I will have safety measures. Then for those safety measures, say for example, everybody will have to wear that clothing wherein when they're dealing with the rays or the nuclear rays or atoms, etc. So that particular clothing or their suit is not going to be of some very low cost. So it is going to be of some very high cost, expensive. So if I'm giving that to my worker, I am investing over there. So cost comes into picture. The moment the risk is high, the cost also becomes high because I have to try to reduce the risk. So there should be a balance between the risk and the cost effort. Getting why? Because the risk is there, there have to be some preventive measures. When I'm talking of the preventive measures, say I have a 60-storied building and my workers are going to work at the 60-storied building, there will be always a, there could be a possibility where he's going to slip and fall and there could be an accident, right? So then we will be providing them with those belts, suits. When they'll be hanging constantly, they have to wear that, or there could be a net and mesh provided at the bottom so that if they fall, they will fall into that net, right? So when we are talking of these safety suits for them, these all are going to be coming up with cost. So risk and cost have to be balanced. More risk, and if I'm not going to address the risk, automatically the cost of the project or the cost of the entire work is going to go low. No use, because risk is more, the person is going to suffer. If say I'm going to give more amount, there is no risk only present, and unnecessarily I'm doing all the drama over there of putting a mesh and net and etc. Say for a 2-storied building, I'm giving people, providing them with suits or those safety belts. Is it required for a 2-storied building? No. Again, it is of a waste, no balance. So this risk and cost effort should be balanced. So if I read the statement, first statement, it is not reasonably practical. It is meaning it is not basically practical if the cost of removal of risk is high. Forget these big words. At least read the small words and try to understand. If the cost of removal of the risk is high, then this entire occupation is not going to be, or the entire project is not going to be reasonable. Second, it is reasonable and practicable if a risk can be removed at a smaller cost. So I have to balance the cost. All he tries to say is we have to balance the cost. Next comes the safety management. So when we are talking of the measures, what can be done, safety measures, etc., that all falls under what? The safety management. Management is a very big term. Your mother is also very a good manager. Why? Because she manages your house. She manages the kitchen. She knows when the tea powder is getting over, when the sugar is getting over, when the atta is getting over, right? She's aware of when the salt is getting over. So she is managing the thing. She's a manager at her own place. So safety management. So when we are talking, we have to talk in general, but again, that general points have to be uh, ruled down, or they have to be coming narrowed down to some one point for our occupations now. Okay. So safety management, this begins with a policy and uses tools such as local rules and risk assessment to establish control of the hazards and risks of work. So it begins with the policy, meaning what is a policy? Can anyone tell me? LIC policy, you all have heard. What is that policy? Can anyone define what is a policy? I will tell you example, no, LIC policy. What happens over there?
Terms and regulations.
Terms and regulations, yes. Anything else? Is it only terms and regulations? Say, take life insurance only, LIC. You must have heard at least of LIC, or you must have heard at somebody talking in your. What happens? They put some amount of money, right? They investing some point of money, some part of money, say yearly, monthly, etc. And they have some returns. Do they have returns for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So at least 1% is going to be more than what they've invested, something like that. Policy. So here, this begins with safety management, begins with a policy. Why he mentions a policy over here is, say for example, something goes wrong at the workplace. So a person is affected, say physically, he has lost an arm. Say example, he has lost an arm, and he is the only bread earner of his house, right? And because he has lost his arm, he won't be able to work further to support his family. So in such case, they have to make up a policy where they have to give some financial support to that person for the, for the rest of his life. Obviously, they won't be able to give him pay every month what he is getting, that much only lump sum. No, it is not possible. Agree, but they will be able to give him some amount at least, so that he will be somehow trying to run his family in the future. So that is a policy. We are talking of the compensation provided because of the fatalities that are occurring at the workplace. Okay. So safety management, when I'm trying to incorporate in the system or in my industry or in my company, I will have to begin with the policy. Say example, ऐसे हुआ, so this much should be given. This kind of accident takes place, I have to give them so much of it. It is not always money, okay? I'll have to give them a week off. I have to give them 15 days off, or I should include some medical leaves. Medical leaves, because if they fall sick, some 30 days in a year are kept as medical leaves when he's not well. Generally, if they are working daily on a daily basis with the chemicals, it is possible he is going to fall sick. So when I know that a person is going to fall sick on and on again and again at my workplace because of the prevailing conditions, then what I will think of, I will think of including some kind of sick leaves or medical leaves. That is also a policy. Need not be always giving money only. Okay. So in safety management, it begins with some such kind of policy, and it uses tools. Now for this policy, when I'm saying I'm going to give him a money, or I'm going to introduce some kind of sick leaves or medical leave or some kind of benefits for my employees, I need to have some rules and regulations. Everybody won't be. What if everybody comes and starts that they want to avail a sick leave? I cannot give the sick leave to everyone. So there has to be a rule for that, whom I'm going to give. I cannot give compensation to everybody. Tomorrow somebody will just, for the sake of compensation, there are people who will simply try to harm themselves only to claim their compensation, right? So I'll have to have a set of rules. If this happens, then this is applicable. If for so much 20% is the accident rate, then this much of compensation or this leave has to be given. So those are the tools, and those tools are called as local rules. That is the set of rules the company is going to give. If this, then this. Okay. So tools are your local rules. And risk assessment. So when I know that I am going to work with chemicals in a company, I will have a risk assessment done prior only. For example, you are in your sixth semester. Uh, each of the uh, branch would have one. Till now, you must have come across one subject which your seniors or your teachers, everyone told you that it is a difficult subject. In any one of the semesters, there could have been a particular subject. For example, I know of civil engineering. I don't know about others branches. In civil or mechanical, people will be knowing strength of materials is called as a terror at times. Third semester, strength of materials, or I think MOM, that is mechanics of materials. This subject is called as a difficult subject. Anybody here who knows this subject who can agree with me? Any mechanical students here? No? So when at the, or say at your first and second semester level, some students are not comfortable with mathematics. So risk is what? The failure level is going to be more now because maths is a difficult subject. They would that one subject will be categorized. Let us not take it as maths. You will know it is which subject for your own stream. So it is a difficult subject. So a staff we do a risk assessment for that, meaning he knows okay, now this subject is difficult. Generally, I'll have 50% of failures. So now, how am I going to see that students are not going to fail? Okay, so I will give them a work plan chart that they have to study only this module. I will give them I'll give them important questions that do these derivations, these will come. I might give them a question banks, be prepared with this only. Or I might also tell them do only 3 modules or 4 modules because first think of passing, don't think of scoring, something like that, right? So that teacher would have done a risk assessment to establish the control over the subject, right? Similarly, a risk assessment has to be done for the safety management to establish control of the hazards and risks of work in a specific legal duty to manage safety so that all risks are suitably and sufficiently controlled. So they have to see that all the risks are suitably and sufficiently controlled. It should be under a controlled system. It should not be like they themselves don't know that there is a risk prevailing, right? So that should not happen. Safety policies. There are some safety policies like some names you will see here would be you would not understand. So legal requirement, meaning there should be a law in the your constitution which talks about the labors. Now we have a labor act, right? That is that legal requirement, meaning labor act. When we are talking, there are many things that are coming in labor act. So those all points would be somewhere attached here. Okay, so the legal requirement, then university policy published in a book or on a web. University, because he talks here of a university. If I have a company running, I have an industry running, then I will have all the rules written down and I will have to explain these rules to my employees priorly only. This all comes under safety policy. Then schools need their policy. Even if I'm talking of a school, what will be at a school? In a school there will be teachers, there will be students, there will be some other maintenance staff also, but even a school will need their own policies. If we are talking of a labs sorry, colleges, labs, buildings may need additional policy arrangement to provide in detail because we will be working with equipments, with chemicals, etc. Arrangements will need to include the local rules of that particular area, and some rules are needed by law. That is a rule for ionizing radiation. This is more into only related to radiation, so we'll skip that. So what is the cost of failure? Cost of failure means, say we failed at providing a safe environment. I own a industry and I have failed as an employer to provide a safe workplace or safe environment for my employees. That is failure, right? So what is the cost of that failure? Health and safety law is a criminal law. So when it comes to health and safety, if somebody is going to file a case in health and safety, it will go into a criminal section in the judiciary. Okay, it comes under criminal law. Failure to manage health and safety can result in, if I, as an employer, fail to manage the health and safety of my employees, it can result into prosecution, fine, and imprisonment of that person. That is, he has to pay some kind of fine or prosecution. That is a case, and imprisonment can take place. Compensation claims. That is what we were talking at construction site. Generally, they give compensation. Compensation claims wherein the employee is going to claim compensation that he did not provide me with the safety instructions or safety measures, preventary measures, and because of which I faced this kind of a problem and today I am into this state. So there the employer has to pay compensation to his worker. Loss of output or service, the moment such things come into picture, say, remember in between 4 or 5 years ago, I think you all were in high school then, Maggie had a problem. Maggie was banned. You all remember Maggie was banned?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what happened because of that? when Maggie came back into the market again, there were many people who were not uh, still comfortable buying Maggie. Why? Because there was the name had spoiled. Now again it is back on track, but still I don't think how it was there before it is like that now, right? So loss of output or service. What happens once the name and fame has gone? That particular in this company, this is not proper, or in this industry, this is not proper. They don't give importance to the workers, etc. Then there would be loss of output. Production level automatically will reduce. Lay's chips are very tasty, but Lay's chips only there are 4 chips in that one packet, and rest of them is air only. Agree? There are so many memes coming also, right, on Insta and Facebook, where you'll see it is 80% of air and 20% of chips. So generally that happens. Then what happens? Output will be hampered. So loss of output and replacement costs. So when a person, my employer is, I don't take care of my employee, and he has suffered, and I have to give him compensation firstly. So I have lost, I have come under loss because I have given compensation. Then I have to replace him, and I have to replace some of the other things at my workplace. Provide, like for example, he complained on some equipment, so the law is going to ask me to replace that equipment because it is not working well, or introduce some preventive measures. So when these all are coming into picture, my investment is going high, output has gone down, investment is going high. What is happening? Ultimately I'm in loss, right? So these are some of the costs of failure that could happen if we do not take proper care. Okay, so with all these basics, I'm coming back to introduction again here. So these what I spoke of were all general, that these things happen, this might happen, etc. So in early 1900s, industrial accidents were very common in most of the countries. 1900s we are talking of, almost 100 and more than 100 years ago. For example, in 1907, over 3,200 people were killed in a mining activity in US, United States of America. So imagine the amount of the number of people there. 3,200 people were killed in only one factory, that is a mining factory. Okay, mining activity was taking place. So that time there were no rules and regulations as such. There was only very little protection for workers' safety in those days. Then what happened? The people began National Safety Council. So looking into this all into picture, then the people started gathering into groups, and they came up with the National Safety Council in 1913 in Chicago, a board-based organization with thousands of members from business, industry, agriculture, education, labor, and government. All these sectors, they came together and they came up with this National Safety Council, where they came up with few rules, few laws to be put forth, so that it helps the labor class. Okay, next. This is all what related to your occupational health and safety. That is history of OSHA. Occupational health and safety is how VTU tells us. That is why it becomes OHSA. If I put safety first, occupational safety and health, then it becomes OSHA. Okay, so history of OSHA. During the Industrial Revolution, child labor in factories was common. So even now, you can see actually child labor. It is reduced to some extent, but we are aware that even now there are places where we will see children working. That is not right? So during the Industrial Revolution, child labor in factories was very common. The working hour were very long, and the hard work and the conditions often were unhealthy, unsafe for the people, and because of which many children were getting affected in those days. So the public pressure, what happened after this? The public came together and they started, coming together and then started fighting for their rights, wherein the children were affected. So the public pressure eventually forced a government response, and in 1802, the Health and Morals of Apprentices Act was passed in the legislation. This happened in 1802, but still, even after that, till 1913, they were still fidgeting with the national policy only. Then the factory inspection was introduced, because then those days, many factories, even now they are present, but then factory mein a person working in factory and all was a big thing. So factory inspection was introduced in 1867, And in 1869, the Legislation Act was passed on mine safety. This is basically related to mining. So in Pennsylvania, this Legislation Act means a law came into picture. Okay. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is BLS, it is called, was established in 1869. Labor statistics. When I say Labor Act, all sectors come into this. I, being a lecturer, also come under a Labor Act. That is why 1st May is a holiday. Why 1st May is a holiday? Can anyone tell me? Why 1st of May is a holiday?
Labor Day.
Labor Day. What is a Labor Day? What happened? Why it is no? Why it is called as a Labor's Day? Nobody knows Labor Day. Okay, I had to admit some people again. Yeah. Lecturers come into labors because we are working for the organization. So I am a labor only there. So all sectors fall into this. Whenever I have private organization, I have a head management who is working, and whatever, irrespective of my degree, I become a labor for that organization. Labor's Act. It is for all the streams. Okay. So Bureau of Labor Statistics was established in 1869. Labor statistics. Then they divided what type of work, then which labor has to be considered where, etc. To study the industrial accidents and report the relative to the inform those accidents. In 1877, the first legislation requiring the use of guards for hazardous machine was passed. So in 1877, the first law was passed to the industries which were using the machines which could cause hazards. Okay, hazardous machinery means which could cause hazards was passed. So this was about the history of OSHA and introduction to OSHA. I will be providing not this PPT, my PPT actually, I don't know, this is not the way you should do the PPT, okay? Font size and everything is different over here. And see here, I have left some space. There were pictures over here, I don't know, everything is gone now. So when you do presentations, do not do. I will rectify this presentation. I will be giving you these presentations for studying also. Along with that, I will be also providing you the notes. Okay. So then we were speaking of the national safety policy, no? So can you see the slide? What document is open? Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be talking, I'll take another few minutes. National safety policy, and I'll close. I know listening for the theory lecture for more than an hour is difficult. Please bear with me. So national safety policy, the national policy on safety, health and environment at workplace was declared by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Government of India in 2009 after consultation with partners. Now see, 2009 is just how many years ago? Some 10, 11 years ago. So it is only now 10, 12 years ago that the national policy on safety and health of environment was passed. Till now, there were laws and regulations, but there was no particular policy as such. This shows we are so slow at our, when it comes to our country's judiciary, or when it comes to the health issues, or majority of us are worker classes only, right? So 80% of the population are going to fall into the working class only. Only few are very at a top class and few are very low class, right? So rest all of us fall into the labor's class. Even after with this scenario, the policy was passed, or it came into picture only in February 2009. That is 2009, I finished my BE engineering. It is there. Okay. The action program to implement the policy is a part of the document. The national policy referring to the Constitution of India set out a set of goals with view to building, maintaining national preventive safety and health culture, and improving the safety at the workplace. So what this policy is doing, it is trying to set goals with the view that the workers or the people who are working, whether it is at the construction site or organization or industry, the employer has to take preventive measures for their safety and health culture and improving the safety and health of that people and the workplace. The policy also expresses a set of national objectives. Okay. The outline for action program identify 8 specific working areas. So which are the areas that are going to be included in this policy are including enforcement, national standards, compliance, awareness, research, and development. So these all areas are going to be kept in mind when they are going to connect it to safety and preventive measures at the workplace. Okay. Then occupational safety and health development here. Next slide. Occupational safety and health skills development and data collection. So what are the benefits of this particular policy? The policy is not limited to large and organized sector, but extends to even medium and unorganized sector. Meaning, there is no rule that this policy is only for larger community or large industry where the production is more or the labors are more. No, this policy can be applied to medium scale to unorganized sectors also. The policy provides for, what is the provision given is, general guidelines to all the stakeholders to discharge the responsibility in appropriate manner. What is a stakeholder? Anybody can tell me? Who is a stakeholder? Do you know what is a stakeholder?
Who have shares of the company.
Yeah, who buy the shares of a, yeah, in a very simple term, shares, meaning he's got some kind of connection to that. No, no, when he has a share of the company, share meaning the company is going in loss, he is going in loss. The company is going getting profit, he is getting profit. Right? That is a stakeholder. Anybody else? Any other answer? Stakeholder.
Small
Okay.
percentage of that organization as a leadership.
Small percentage of that organization has a leadership. Agree, correct. Nearly correct. A bit of it is missing. If I'm talking of stakeholders of our college, who do you think are the stakeholders of our college?
Directors.
Directors. And you know, once you pass out, you could be also a stakeholder of a college because you are going to be the alumni of our college. Your parents are the stakeholders of our college because they give us feedback on how you are performing or what is wrong and what is right. Different categories. All of them are stakeholders, right? They will be giving us inputs. Somebody is trying to log in. I'm just sorry, admit. Okay. Where was I? Stakeholders. So, general guidelines in this national policy, guidelines was given to all the stakeholders to discharge their responsibility. So, when I say responsibility, when you pass out of the college, do you feel you have some responsibility towards your college? You are alumni. So, we'll always be trying to give them feedback on what changes could be done for the college to become much more better. Like that, I'm giving an example of college, need not be like that. So stakeholder is someone who will be trying to increase the efficiency of that workplace. Okay, next one, next benefit, it helps to create positive safety and health culture. Okay, the policy is put forth so that it will create a positive safety and health culture. It enables development of research activities, skill development of employees, employers, enforcement authorities, and society at large. So, research activity means, research means always don't think I will jump into a PhD and I'm sitting and reading and study. Yes, agree, research is something like that. But here, research activities means for my kind of a work, how will I get more production or how will I increase the efficiency of the workers? What could I introduce so that the workers will be happy and efficiency goes high, right? They will work more, or I could give them some bonus, I could give them some hike, right? So by doing such things also, what will happen? The people who are working for you become happy and they work more better way, right? Then skill development of employees, meaning when we are talking of industries and I'm using some particular kind of equipment, they should know to use the equipment. So if they do not know, it is the employer's duty to train them to use that equipment, right? So training should be given to them prior to that. So that is what is skill development of the employee and the employers, enforcement authorities, and society at a large. Third one, participation and cooperation of employers and employees, promoting employee participation for effective management. All of you have seen Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum movie, Amitabh Bachchan and Jaya Bhaduri. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, no? So he always makes this, I think it is Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum only, no? Where the Shah Rukh Khan and all are there. He always makes this statement, remember? Keh diya to keh diya. How many of you remember? Yes, no? Have you seen Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum?
Been
Hello?
long, been
Huh?
long time, been long time.
Long time. He usually tells a statement to Jaya Bhaduri wherein she tries to tell him something and he is like, I have said it once, done. Meaning, he is not ready. Why I took that example is, I don't know whether you have seen or no. I'm sorry because I am from that era and you all are juniors to me, I know. That point I took here because he is not ready to listen to her side of the story. One. Second, he is like a commanding authority over there wherein he says, I have said this once and this is closed now. We are not going to open the topic again. Say for example, I'm taking class for you and now when I start the class and I somebody comes up, I know a few names only, I don't, from Aniket I think somebody is there. Say he wants to say, madam, he says, and I say, Aniket, no talking, I don't like disturbances. Okay. Then again, I continue. Some students again try to mute and try to tell me something. I am not ready to listen to them. I simply say, you are not going to talk anything in between. You are simply going to listen to what I'm trying to say. What is happening? I'm not listening to the other side of the story. There could be some problem. Probably you are trying to tell me that I'm not audible. Probably you are trying to tell me that the screen is not visible. But am I giving a ear to it? No. So what I intend to tell you here is the participation and cooperation. That is, both have to have that interaction. When you study management, you will have management subject. I think there is a phase comes wherein the types of managers and the employees will be talking of. There are managers who will not listen only. It has to be interactive. Without you telling me the problem, how will I know whether I'm going good or no? Right? So that cooperation and participation and interaction have to be there present at all sectors so that they will tell what problem they are facing and then I will be able to address that problem. If I don't listen to the problem, how am I going to address? I always cannot say I am a teacher, you are a student, behave like a student. No. Similarly, a person who is running the organization, he can't say that I'm not going to listen to my employer's feedback, right? So that is what that policy talks about. There has to be cooperation for them to raise their voice. Ensures better compliance and implementation through a mechanism of accrediting competent professionals and institutions. Through good professionals and through good institutions, they want to ensure better compliance and implementation of these rules and regulations. Okay, meaning through good sectors, if they're a big brand, you have these brand ambassadors. When Virat Kohli does something, people are very happy, they'll go and buy that. The same concept. They want to ensure that small industries and small organizations also will come up and take this by implementing these policies into big known industries. They are like that brand, brand industry. So these brand ambassadors for your other works like film actress or cricket players, when they do, we are very happy. The children have that tendency that, oh, Virat is doing that ad about this particular thing, I want to buy that. The same thing is, same example it is. The implementation of the policy would enable timely collection, compilation and analysis of work-related injuries, diseases, sicknesses, etc. So because of the policy, there would be maintenance, there would be checking. Maintenance means what? Every 6 months, every 3 months, they'll come and check and go. They will collect all the information. about what is happening, analysis of the work related injuries, diseases, sickness, how many people were present, how many people are being remaining absent, for what reason they are absent. So all this will be collected, and then that all would be taken into consideration for the implementation of the policy. It provides occupational safety health system approach to be followed by the management, including use of computer aided risk assessment tools for dealing with safety, health, and environmental problems. So, meaning these days they are coming up with using the computer aided risk assessment. Computer aided risk assessment means simple language analysis. They will analyze based on the input, and then they will come up with a new rule and regulation, or how to solve the problem. They'll come up with a solution to it. So yes, that ends. There are some 8 to 10, I think. So that is the benefits. This is also one of the important question. What is national safety policy and what are the benefits of the national safety policy? So you all can, I will be sharing the notes with you. You can read, and in the examinations, whether it is internals or the externals, whatever examples I gave of Maggie, Lays, and college, don't write such examples, okay, in the paper. That was only for you to understand. Never write such examples when it comes to uh, writing the exams. Okay. Other than that, I think everything else is covered. No issues. So key principles, it's okay. I will take in the next class. No problem. Right. So any doubts? Anybody's got any doubt? Anybody's got any doubt?
No, ma'am.
No. Are you
No,
listening,
ma'am.
or it's only on the, you want to change? I will be here with you only for module 1. So we have started today. Next Wednesday, Friday, maximum 2-3 hours. Another 3 hours, we will be completing module 1 because it is more of theory. Policies only will be studying and the measures taken. So after this, I won't be with you. You will have different professors coming for different modules. But once the offline classes start, I would love to meet all of you and interact one-in-one, wherein I'll arrange for a class and we will discuss all these important questions and important things once again related to module 1. Okay. Is there anything you want to tell, ask, say? Any queries? No?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
It's 9:49, almost 1.5 hours. So I'll leave you for now. I want you to quickly put in the chat box your name and USN. You give your attendance, basically. Pay Sagar. So quick, he was waiting for me to say that. What is B70 and all you all are writing? Bharti, Shafia, Sanjana, Yogesh, Sanket, Abhilash, Sachin, Santosh, Shambhavi, Rashmi, Apurva, Harish, Shifali, Karuna, Rishikesh, Sana, Asmita, Praveen, Rasika, Soumya, Mansi, Srihari, Shabas. You all can quit the meeting once you're done. Tanay, Greta, Prathamesh, Yogeshwar, Anil Kumar, Manik, Sangeeta, Vandana, Vaishnavi. Welcome. Sangeeta says thank you. Sushma, Mantesh, Basavraj, welcome Vaishnavi, Vedant, Snehal. I'll stop the record.